Good morning, Facebook land. So, we are definitely seeing a lot of patterns out here today. I remember when I was a kid and when I was told that when you're 18, you're out the door, though I left a little bit earlier than that, but when you're 18, you're out the door. You're on your own. And that was looming in front of me for many years. Many years. And my mom was saying, "So, what are you going to do with your life?" And I'm just like, and that's when they're like putting out their McDonald's or college, food service or college. Because that was the only thing that I knew was available. There wasn't anything else that I knew about. I didn't have any experience with the world. I didn't know what to expect from the world. And those were the choices. You go to college and get a degree, or you go work and or go to a trade school and learn a trade. I'm from Saratoga. I mean, I was raised in Saratoga, so everybody that I went to school with, they were going to Stanford, Harvard, freaking whatever, all the different colleges, and I wasn't that material for college at the time, but I didn't want to go into food service either. That wasn't appealing. So I decided to join the military, but even that was like that was too many rules for me. And so I didn't do very, I mean, I didn't do very well. I mean, I did well enough in basic training, but my heart wasn't in the military. It wasn't my gig. But, I did go through the initial basic training and went to the tech school and did a few years. And I'm like, I'm getting out. Because that's when the time when I got out was the time that right before George Bush froze all the discharges from the military. And so I got out in time, and the reason why I got out was the fact that they were doing the anthrax shot, and I just heard too many stories about it. So that's why I left the military. So it was like, okay, now what do I do? So so my whole life has been exploring the world to figure out, well, what do I want to do with my life? But the thing that was really, I remember, and this was the bootstrap mentality of my family, was that, yeah, at 18, you're out, you're basically cut off. I made some mistakes along the way in between 18 and 20 to 30 and all that stuff, and needed my parents to bail me out of situations, which only one situation that was really apparent when I went to across Mississippi, drove across country because I wanted to find myself. And that's when the gas prices were going up from like $1 to like $2, and that was like, holy crap. And so when I was in Mississippi, which the gas prices were like 99 cents, seeing it at $1.49 didn't really raise any red flags that it was going to be going up as I kept going west, because I was in Mississippi for like 9 or 10 months, and then I'm not going to live in Mississippi. So I came back, and that was around 2000, right before 9/11. So gas prices were going up around 2000, and then I settled back into Walnut Creek, had a fight with the best friend, and then got into the office and went to Kelly Services and learned all the stuff and learned how to be an office worker. So I pulled myself up by my own bootstraps because no one was going to do it for me. And so when I borrowed money from my parents because I didn't know that gas prices were going up, I went to Western Union when I was over there in Wilcox, Arizona, stuck there with no gas money, no money left. And I'm like, I'm across country in the middle of Arizona. I need to get home. Can you wire me $200? And so they wired me $200, and I did a payment plan to pay them back. And that was really the only time I needed my parents to bail me out of a situation. And my parents said, we will only pay for if you really need it, is for medical services and and I think that's right. She did pay my rent one time when I was in between jobs, and then I had to pay her back again when I got a new job. And so that was like what, $500 I think she sent me. And that was it. And after that, then I was on my own. After that, really, I haven't asked them for any money at all, and now we're like at this juncture. And I think the issue with my parents this last time was the fact that they didn't understand the J juice, and I'm watching them deteriorate. And I mean, yeah, my childhood wasn't the easiest because when you're trying to get somebody from another country who has deficits programmed, and the way they do things isn't always the most orthodox. So, or I don't know, it's different than, I guess, the way other parents raise their kids. And I guess they don't want me to be like other kids that were just getting fed all the time and was never did their own stuff. And you can't be that way in our society. You have to be on your own in this society, and it's not easy. It really isn't. I mean, it's a struggle to be on your own and to be responsible for yourself, especially with all the temptations out there. And it's easier to get taken care of by someone than to do shit on your own. It really is. And let me tell you, I definitely had my own struggles of doing shit on my own with a little bit of help here and there from friends and stuff. But even then, friends can only help you for so long. I mean, they eventually get tapped out. Or, the people that you hang out with are sucking so much out of you that you don't have anything left to give. And I've had that where I've left friendships because in the past, because the dynamic was not equal. And so that's some hard lessons in relationships, is understanding how to have a relationships and redefining relationships. And so now I'm seeing a pattern today. I mean, I'm watching Afghanistan, and I remember the Georgia Guidestones. And then I look at the whole thing with the virus and the medical system, and people are in an uproar because they can't have the freedoms, I guess, of movement. They have to either wear a mask or not wear a mask, or get vaxxed or not get vaxxed. Okay. You're having a few choices, but still you're subject to the terms of your choices. And some of these outcomes from your choices are not going to be opportune. So I was listening to Al Jazeera this morning, and I'm listening to this Afghan woman who's just like, oh God, I mean, Americans were here for 20 years and they kept the peace from the Taliban, and now they're pulled out, like, pushing the kids out of the nest. We've given you 20 years. And you hear different stories of why we were there. Maybe we helped teach the Afghans how to fight, and maybe they were expecting the Afghans to fight against the Taliban, and they decided not to because they got too comfortable with mommy and daddy American occupation. And so maybe they were told that we're going to be leaving. And I wouldn't doubt that situation, that they were probably told that they were going to be leaving, and people didn't believe it or want to face the fact they were going to have to do shit on their own. And the Taliban are a formidable enemy. I wouldn't want to go up against them. And so they just were in denial until the day of. And so we're looking at now going back to basics. I mean, we're looking at now everyone is subject to the terms of their choices. Okay, and we're seeing that with this virus. This virus is leveling the playing field. It's bringing up everything that people were in denial about. And it's pretty interesting watching it. And so it's almost like the not having a virus to level the playing field, like the way this is now, and the way the past has been prior to the COVID, prior to 2020, everyone was getting mommy and daddy to bail them out when it comes to the medical system, when it comes to parents. Right now we're seeing baby boomers, we're seeing the silent generation being phased out. And what are the millennials, what are the Gen Xers, the Gen Zers going to do when they are faced with having to do stuff on their own. And this is where it's a little jolting to find out that the nest egg or the things that you depended on that you could have done on your own are going to be now gone. And what are you going to do when you don't have mommy and daddy because they may have passed away from the COVID? What do you do when you don't have a government like the American government occupying and trying to teach you how to fight and teach you how to do stuff? And so the rule of law and being subject to the terms of your environment are what people are going to be facing. So if a third world country like Afghanistan is their strongest population is someone like the Taliban, then everyone's going to have to go and acclimate to that specific environment. They had the chance to leave. Maybe they had the chance, maybe had all the chances to fight, to leave, whatever. And people get comfortable. They get comfortable when things are given to them, when someone is fighting for them. They get comfortable when someone's going and tweaking something and fighting your battles. And and even I do it too. I fight people's battles that probably should fight their own battles. But I don't fight everybody's battles. I think the people that I choose to fight the battles are for my husband and then for myself. And that's it, and my dog. Because even the way I act with the Jilly Juice crowd, I'm like my mom. I see it. It's pretty crazy. If she would have done something different, would I have ended up this way? I don't know. But I think maybe her culture and her training and all that stuff was alluding to the fact that we were going to be facing this day of where those that were propping you up and keeping you dependent are eventually going to pull the rug out from under you. But maybe there were plenty of warnings to say, okay. I mean, I guess the conspiracy world is like my mom saying, at 18, you're getting pushed out of the nest. So the conspiracy world saying, okay, they're going to try to do this, this, and that to you. I mean, Alex Jones was like my parents in a lot of ways. When you look at the dynamic of the warnings that were given, like Alex Jones came out like maybe 20 years ago, okay, maybe a little bit less. My parents told me a long time ago when I was ready to understand, you're out at 18, so I'm like, oh, I'm 15, I have 3 years to get my shit together. Holy shit, that's a scary freaking thought. Holy shit, Alex Jones is saying this, and that, and I'm watching all the YouTube videos, like just shocked to hell that something's going to happen, the fall of society, the fall of all the things that we depended on that actually we can do on our own if given the chance. And so then that's where you have all the different holistic stuff and all the alternative stuff and the offshoots and all the different conversations of what is the reality, what's the truth. Oh my God, it's like it makes your head spin. But when you get down to the actual root of all of it, it comes down to this. It's Darwinian. Over there in Afghanistan, the strong are going to survive. Maybe they were given warnings, maybe they weren't. Maybe they didn't get warnings. I know I was definitely warned at 15. You're out the door at 18. And yeah, that was scary for me. But when you're 15 and you're just like, I don't know what the hell to do with my life. What am I going to do? So I had to go and go and find my fortune. I mean, you set out on a journey to go find your fortune. And I did that by driving across country by myself, by causing conflict in my life to get me to motivate me to do shit. I mean, that's why I think I do create conflict, because that is where the most evolution comes through. And that's probably why I get so much better every single time I finally come to terms with what I can and cannot control. And so sometimes you have to create the conflict, even though you don't want to create the conflict. You need to create the conflict because that's the motivation tool. That's what gets a person to sink or swim. And that's what it comes down to is, are you going to sink or fucking swim? And so people are faced with that. And that's a scary thing because they don't know their own strength and they were never taught how to swim. And so when they are faced with sinking or swimming, some people end up sinking. but that's the household I came from, is that it's a sink or swim, bootstrap mentality. And so sometimes the kids from a bootstrap mentality household who have kids didn't like that, didn't like that mentality, but having that type of mentality in a world where there's so many freaking saviors and safety nets, that they're like, well, why would you have a sink or swim type of mentality when there's so many fucking safety nets out there? Parents are safety nets, the government's a safety net, all your social services are a safety net. So people get comfortable with basically not really wanting to swim. They kind of just do a little doggy paddle, but they don't really learn how to fucking swim. And so when finally those agencies, let's say the ICUs, are not available anymore for anyone with a really, like, with a maintenance condition or anything else, and it's first come, first serve, what are you going to do when you have an emergency? And so now they're taking people far away to different places because their current local environment cannot handle the amount of dependent people who don't know how to take care of their bodies, who are told, okay, well, you have this problem, this problem, this problem, this is what you got to do, whether or not those solutions are actually viable. But I mean, even just change, like, for me, I changed my diet. When I knew at the information back in 2013, when I thought that meat was poison, milk was poison, this was poison, and that was poison, I got into action and got rid of the meat, the milk, the Teflon. I got rid of my microwave. I mean, I got into action, but that was the information I had at the time. But I got into action to get my shit together, figure out, okay, is this stuff hurting me? And even though it wasn't really hurting me, but that's what I understood, I still got into action to figure out, how am I going to take care of myself? How am I going to make sure that I don't poison myself? And so so now with new information, now it's feeding yourself. Now it's understanding that the food supply isn't the enemy. It's the fact that you have to deal with the pain. You have to face all the different things, the demons that are inside you. And this electric environment is bringing up the demons in people. It's bringing up the fear. It's bringing up the saviorism. It's bringing up the bravery. I mean, and it's only going to get even more intense, because as people don't believe the severity of what's going on, and they're under a false sense of security with either a therapeutic or all their detoxes, or with even the J juice, because J juice has and is being used as a cure actively by some people. They're going to go out there and think everything is great. Come to find out, no, it's going to work against you. The environment's going to work against you. And so everything is going to work against you. So the electricity is going to be so palpable, it's going to either cannibalize you, or it's going to bring up so much stuff that you don't want to face, and then you keep anesthetizing yourself or pretend nothing is wrong. You're just indifferent. But even apathy and indifference is going to work against you because the environment. So that is your self-medicating equilibrium, is indifference and apathy, and pretend everything is okay. But still, the environment is still working against you. So it doesn't matter if you pretended nothing happens or that you found a solution. If you're not willing to face the pain of your own foibles and idiosyncrasies, it's going to be a wake-up call when one of these days your heart and your vital organs doesn't stand up to your indifference, your apathy, or your false sense of security. And so I'm listening to this Al Jazeera, and this lady is like, oh yeah, she's blaming the American occupation for not saving. Well, save yourselves. But maybe some people over there don't have the capacity to save themselves. And we can't save everybody. We can't even save people here in America. We've tried. People are like, oh well, we should get out of Afghanistan and save people here in America. I'm telling you, I try to save my friends and family. I try to save my own family who taught me this mentality. And guess what? They don't want to listen to me. They think I'm stupid. But you're the one that taught me to be this way. You taught me to be a sufficient hard ass that, yeah, I mean, you see how hard ass I was in my group. People all want to be like, oh, Jillian, tell me how to do this and tell me how to do that. And I have like 500, 600, thousands of people wanting me to be their doctor. And I'm giving them all the information to do it on their own, just like my parents did. They didn't give me all the information because they didn't have all the information. But they gave me enough idea that you're going to have to do shit on your own. You're going to have to do your own research. You're going to have to find out how to get your own social security card. You're going to have to find out how to get your own driver's license. You're going to find out how to get your own checking account. If you're going to get to learn how to do the computer and learn how to, well, I learned how to type as a kid, but you're going to have to learn how to work a computer and files and all that stuff, or learn how to do stuff in an office. So that's when I went to these temporary service agencies and did all of their tutorials in Excel, Word and Microsoft, something else. And so PowerPoint. And so I had to find the resources to learn how to do shit on my own so I could be a marketable person. And so sometimes it takes conflict. And if you are so adverse to conflict, but you like conflict in other ways, a drama of whatever, if conflict is not being beneficial to you to get you to the next level, if the conflict you have in your life is actually regressing you, making shit hard for not only yourself, but everyone around you, then you are tapping into the wrong conflict and you're not turning that conflict into something that is beneficial. And so that's the distinction about conflict, is conflict can either demote you and destroy you, or conflict can build you up. And so, yeah, the conflict with the J juice built a lot of people up. People are going to do shit on their own. I cut people off all the time because I'm tired. The teat is fucking dry. The milk is gone. I've given you my tit for the last freaking 4 years, and people still don't understand this information, that pain is fucking healing. And I'm sorry, but you're going to have to deal with these viruses that are in there. You're going to have to feel it. Okay? You're going to have to face the way in which you look at pain and the way in which and look at evolution. And many people are in denial. Yes, I've given them access to evolution and immortality. And I've also given them access to destroy themselves with cures. Because cures will put you in a state of decline. And I've said last night with the thermodynamics, I brought physics into this to substantiate. Not my belief system, everyone can live indefinitely and this is how you can do it. Because it still came back to, you got to deal with the pain. You got to deal with the evolution. You got to deal with feeling everything that you've been avoiding your whole fucking life. Being anesthetized with all of your trappings of wealth and what you think is health and all of your associations. But I'm telling you, this virus is going to kick people's asses, and it's only going to get worse because, like I said, viruses run off electricity. Humans run off electricity. And so with the Wi-Fi from the 5G to the 6G to the 7G, which you're not going to be able to stop, and you still have people out there that don't even think this is serious, and they're all hanging out together, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 people. They're all under a false sense of security, or they don't believe this shit's going on. They're all hanging out thinking nothing's going on. The environment is working against them. Because let me tell you, every single time I go out there around people, whether it's 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 people, I feel it. And if you are a working person who depends upon yourself to get to work every day, and you're hanging out with a bunch of people, you don't want to feel the evolution of being around a bunch of people. So guess what you're going to do? You're going to do the J juice to try to anesthetize you or cure you from feeling something, or you'll turn to all what you usually turn to, your pills, powder supplements, detoxes, alcohol, cannabis, whatever it is, whatever your distraction of choice is. And so this is so interesting how no matter what, you're going to have to deal with the pain of this virus and the evolution of it. And either you are on your own, bootstrap mentality, stay within your circle of people, which could be just your family, and that's it. Okay? And you work from home and you start healing yourself and you take care of yourself, buy your food, and really get down to the priorities of food, shelter, clothing, your mode of communication, your vehicle, everything that is basic. Everything else on top of that, all the trips and all the different association things, that's going to work against you, because not only will the viruses kick your ass if you're that mobile and wanting to be around everyone, but the people out there are not really predictable. It's an unpredictable world out there. And so I saw the writing on the wall a long time ago. I knew I was going to kind of have to be on my own and do stuff. And so I pulled away from society for, actually, I haven't really been part of society too much for, but I've been pulling away from society very incrementally because I knew that I mean, I didn't like the fact that everyone's going to ball games and drinking and be like, oh yeah, go 49ers, oh yeah, go freaking Jets. Everyone's all like in there. I mean, yeah, I was part of the conspiracy world, but even the conspiracy world has their own issues and they're still going down rabbit holes, completely distracted. So I knew that I couldn't get stuck in the fucking rabbit holes of the conspiracy world. So I'm like, okay, I'm done with all of these, with all the different fucking political activism stance. I'm done with all of that. And, it's just me and my husband. We don't want any kids. I'm not going to be a slave to any child. And I don't want to be a slave to anyone else's, foibles and idiosyncrasies. So that's the other day when I did that video. I'm done with being the one to bail people out. Oh, it's helping people. Help your fucking self. Help yourself. I help myself all the time, because I have to. My husband and I don't have anyone to bail us out with anything. We don't have anyone that can be like, hey, I'll give you $5,000 so you can do this, 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 and this. My husband works his ass off. I work my ass off. He has his own issues and, that's fine. I knew what I came into. I have my own issues. Mine is the fact that, I'm very blunt. I let things kind of fester up because I don't like to be throwing, grenades all the time. So I have a lot more tolerance. That's why you see me when I do get like where I'm cutting people off. It's because I have so much tolerance and that if I were to lob the grenades all the time when someone does something, I don't want to be in a constant war. So I just kind of let it do what it's thing, maybe and process it because there's ways of which, either people are going to realize, themselves in my group or anywhere else, you got to do shit on your own. You got to figure out, you got to deal with with the pain of dealing with the evolution. Oh, but I don't want to feel pain. Now you got to get off the Jaders. I don't want to get off the Jaders. Now you got to feel something. If you're going out there around 40 people and you don't feel anything, you're in a cured state of decline. And if you don't feel anything and that energy is working against you and you're still like, I don't know what a person is doing when they don't feel, you're in a cured state and you have to feel something. There's so many variants out there that you should be feeling something. I'm telling you, when I dealt with that COVID, because I've had COVID a few times. I've had the headaches. I had the feeling of the hot and cold. I've had plenty of the different manifestations of being exposed. But the biggest one, the last one, was the respiratory. That was the moment of truth of how aggressive some of these strains are. And so even with the lesser strains, you still feel the heat. You still feel tired. The defense system that my body has now when it deals with a new variant, that it's not as strong, but if I were to go out with 40 people or 100 people, it would be pretty intense, is the fact that I feel tired. So I would take a nap. That's how my body then does, goes through its defense processes and reparations is I eat a bunch of food because they'll drop in sugar and then I have to go take a nap. So yesterday I've been up since 4. Today up at 4. What is up with that? But I felt the energy and I felt the sugar drop yesterday. So I was eating a bunch of food to help insulate. But if you're not in tune with your body and you're so distracted by a person, place, or thing, or your family or your kids, which I understand, and kids need to have some kind of semblance of normality, but I'm telling you, kids now are going out there in this mutating virus, and some of them are not equipped to handle it. And so we have all these debates about mask, not mask, vax, not vax, which they don't have a vaccine anyways for children under 12 or something like that. So now kids are subject to whatever the conditions are, and some kids will not have what it takes. Or some parents are giving their kids so much J juice that they don't feel anything, and it's going to suck the life out of them on the other end. And you have to feed the kid food, and the kid has to feel the freaking pain. That's the whole thing. The parents too. The parents don't want to feel pain because they don't want any kind of break in their stride. They want to still have all of their trappings of wealth and social status and all the things that they post on Facebook to make them look like they're having a great time and they're doing well, and everyone should really be, envious of their situation. But I'm telling you, these viruses travel. It's just because you sequester yourself in some place and you're on an organic diet, you're not immune to this environment, because the storms are panspermia. The storms are what? Like the rain, the wind, the snow, the heat. Heat brings up viruses in people. That's why people, when, like, I knew someone that was diagnosed with lupus right after they had a huge sunburn, because that heat, that intense heat in the mountains, triggered their autoimmune disorder. So you don't know what's going to trigger people's predispositions. So just because you live way out there, or just because, you think you're off the grid, you don't escape the environment. And if you're using J juice in reaction to, you're going to be in a cure state of beef jerky decline. And if you're using your pills, powders, and supplements and detoxes, then you're squelching the energy. So you're basically snuffing out your life at the micro level. And then the environment, such as the Wi-Fi and all the different power lines and things that you depend upon to run your life, that also is working against you too, because electricity begets electricity. Large viruses influence smaller viruses. And so unless you're feeding the energy, feeding the viruses, dealing with the constipation, all the things that you don't want to feel, the bloating, unless you are feeding, you're not going to survive. And I'm being really honest. And so right now we're seeing a pattern with our U.S. government, who is everybody's mommy and daddy. We were the world's policemen. And some of you are your kids' policemen. Oh, Johnny, you're not, you didn't make it over here, or I'm going to make sure that you have this and you have that, and you don't have to worry about anything. But what happens when mommy and daddy's gone, when mom and daddy passed away from a virus because they have so many predispositions? What's going to happen to little Johnny? What's going to happen to little Susie? What's going to happen to little Mary? People don't think about that. They think that the people that were always bailing them out, whoever it is, I don't care if it's the parents, if it's friends, or if it's family, or whatever, or the government. What happens when the government says we can't do anything for? What happens when the hospitals are so full up? We can't do anything more for you. What happens when you've had your chemo and radiation from your cancer, and now you're getting your blood test, and then you've been around so many people, and the virus that brings up gets you out of remission? What happens then? And people are not faced with that they have to swim on their own. And so you're seeing a lot of people are going to be treading so much water, and the doggy paddling is going to get even faster and faster, and it's going to tire them out. That's what we're seeing right now, is people doggy paddling out there in the middle of the ocean, and they don't have what it takes to freaking learn how to swim, because now they have no more life support systems anymore. And so yeah, I think my parents were part of, the system that knew that this is what's going to happen. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. Maybe that was just built into a curriculum within San Jose State and Santa Clara University or something, where this was the beginning of the compartmentalized rollout of what was going to happen. You have your social media to gauge people's reactions. You have the internet to put out all this information, and you're going to have to make a choice. We have academia that's training people in compartmentalized portions in psychology, psychotherapy, in the medical system, to get ready and prepare for the influx of people who are that fucking needy. And yeah, the system set you up to fail, but they also gave you now information at the last minute. You got the J juice from 2016, 2017. They put me on mainstream media to give you guys an option. Yeah, they created controversy. Maybe they knew how great salt was, and that's why they demonized it, because it would stop the efficacy of the antagonist antibodies in the vectors. Because you have two choices. You either breathe in the environment and deal with the agonist antibodies and deal with that program, and also will produce both equal agonist and antagonist, or you take a vector and you have the antagonist antibodies that are predominant programming, and then with a little bit of the agonist antibodies, which is why you see the stuff on the inserts, okay? telling you that this is the evolutionary cycles, which is the disease stuff. And so you have now two choices, but those two choices are still going to emit and use up the same amount of energy. Anything that triggers your immune system is going to cause energy to happen. And do you have what it takes to deal with that energy? And when you feel that energy, are you going to try to squelch it? Or you can try to insulate it and then maybe do a reset if you just started the J juice and reset your body so you can get all the excess programming that's conflicting. And then you take in the new programming, which is this new COVID, and you feed it with food. And so this is the world that we live in now. And so I want to be right now on my own with really just my husband. Though he will do what he does, and that's fine. That's his choice. But I really do want, I need to be on my own and just away from all the stuff, because right now this virus is going to be insane. And it's mutating, and it is aerosolized. It is traveling through panspermia, which is the rain, the wind, the pollen, the snow. Okay? All the four seasons are going to make. And the mosquitoes, because I've gotten bit by a few mosquitoes here and there. Mosquitoes, well, not all mosquitoes carry the COVID. I think the mosquitoes neutralize it. But they have their own stuff. Okay? And so you can't escape what's coming. So now is the moment of truth. Sink or swim, babies. Just like my mom told me, you're out at 18. They told us 20 years ago, Alex Jones told us, this is what's going to happen. Maybe the Afghans were told, we're only going to be here for 20 years. We're pulling out in 2020 or 2021 or 2022. Maybe they were told this. Maybe they were told a couple months or a year ago that we're pulling out next year. The people that were the Americans in Afghanistan. But they didn't want to leave yet. They didn't want to uproot themselves and leave Afghanistan when they were told, we're going to be leaving, and now they're going to have to fight it out with each other. And do you really want to be caught up in a civil war? And people are like, oh, no, it's not going to happen. They were like in denial. And now Americans pulled out, and now we have the Taliban, and we're here. This is the rule of law, Sharia law. Okay, that is your town. Now we have the town of Ohio and town of wherever, or the state of Ohio, the state of California, the state of Nebraska, and all these different states. And we're like, okay, mask, no mask, vax, no vax. Everyone's all debating over what's good or what's bad or whatever. And people are unraveling. They can't handle the change, the electricity, the viruses. Even if they don't believe the virus, the electricity is that much. Or the masks are going to piss them off. Or the vax are going to piss them off. Or the no vax is going to piss them off. So I'm staying home. Or the alcohol is going to take over people's lives because they don't want to deal with anything. And so the distractions are going to be that much more exponential. And I'm going to be like, I'm staying here. I don't want to deal with nobody. I don't want to deal with nobody's drama. I don't want to deal with nobody's freaking unraveling because they can't handle their environment. I'm done because it's too unpredictable out there. And that's my self-preservation. That's my self-protection. My husband will do what he does. I'll do the best I can to help him out from here. Okay? I do the best I can to advise him to make sure that his money's going to the right places, take care of our bills, the food, and whatever he needs to keep himself going so he feels like things are okay in his world. And so that's my priority, is my family and my dog. That's it. Nothing else. I don't care. I mean, hey, if you're hungry and you're a friend of mine, I'll give you some top ramen. And here, I'll give you some canned chicken and go at it. If you're that hungry. But why is it you're that hungry? What are you doing with your money? And if you're blowing it on stupid shit and not taking care of food, there's a food bank down the street. Go to the church. At some point, people have to figure out what their priorities are. Mommy and daddy are not going to be able to bail you out. Mommy and daddy are right now trying to survive on their own with all of this shit going on. And they have predispositions and things that they got to deal with. I'm telling you, everyone out there is going to be stretched thin. It's time to take care of your own fucking backyard. And that's what's going on in Afghanistan. It's time to take care of their own backyard. They've been given 20 years to learn how to fight. And I'm telling you, it's not easy to fight. But I fought my whole freaking life. Fought to live, fought to be something. When I told my boss when I was a nanny, and she worked for ABC. She sold airtime for KGO radio. And I was sitting in her living room over there in Danville, California. And I said, you know what? I got to go do something with my life. I got to make something. I'm going to make something of myself. Whatever. I don't know what the hell it was, because who knows? And so I'm going to drive across country by myself. And I'm going to see what it's like to be on my own. So I got into my Mazda, and I drove across country the first time. I visited her along with, I went all the way down to LA. She's in Hollywood. Now she moved to LA from Danville. But I did move with them from Danville to LA and did the LA scene for a second, but that's not my scene. That was super, super, superficial. Holy shit. And so I drove across country, and I just, met people along the way, gas stations. I slept at the gas station because I didn't want to get a hotel room. I didn't have any money for it. But I ended up, going to Mississippi and just learned the different ways and the different lifestyles and I'm like, oh, this is cool, but I can't live here. And so this is right before Katrina too. So I'm lucky I was not caught up in the Katrina, because that was like 2005, I think, or something. Then I moved to Washington. Then I moved to, and then with my husband, Ohio. Traveled to overseas to China and dealt with all of that. And I got caught up in customs because I left my bag on the bus, and I could have been in a Chinese jail, and so it's like I've made something of myself because I put myself in situations that were probably, it could have gone either way, but that's what made me who I am. That's what made me a fighter, because I purposely put myself in situations that were difficult where I had to learn something. And yeah, I've been fired from jobs. I've walked out of relationships. I've had people break up with me. I've broken up with them. I mean, it's endless, the amount of learning that I put myself in because I wanted to do something and be something. And so that's the thing, is that when you have nothing else and you're faced with only yourself and no one's going to give you a job, no one's going to give you money, you got to go and do it on your own. There's no one that's going to, when you think about it, there's no one else but you. And so you go out there and you set out on your path to find your fortune. And so that's back to basics. So now we're back to basics. This virus is leveling the playing field, and everybody is affected. I don't care how much you think that you're insulated from it. You're not, because even the J-Jews can't insulate you. You still got to deal with the evolution. Because if you keep doing J-Juice to escape the pain, you'll turn into a mummy, beef jerky. Because no matter what, you're going to have to feel the pain of evolution and this virus with its mutations, with everybody doing everything, hanging out. You see all the Lollapalooza and all the concerts and the activists and the patriots are all hanging out together. That virus is going to mutate and force everyone to deal with themselves. Lessen the amount by staying home. I still feel, though, the anxiety. Yesterday I felt jittery, but the virus and the energy is only going to build me up. It's not going to tear me down, but the energy and the virus can tear people down because of the way they react to it. So I'll tell you, this is some interesting times we live in, but I'll tell you what, you need to face your evolution. You need to start taking care of shit at home. I'm telling you, the system will give you all the distractions. They'll give you all the, oh yeah, go on a plane, go on a trip. Here, we'll lower the rates. Here, come to this concert. We want to see your vax card. We want to see a negative COVID test. We want to see all these things. And so if you want to take part in all the things that all the distractions of our society, you're going to have to then do all the different things that they ask you to do. Now with the J-Juice, yes, you can disable the antagonist programming in the vectors. Yes. But you still got to deal with the evolution of the agonist antibodies. You don't escape that. Just because J-Juice can neutralize the antagonist antibodies that are doing a search and destroy an evolution, you still got to feel pain. So even J-Juice is not an escape. Though people are going to use it at that. And I noticed that yesterday. That's why I got pissed off at the young lady that I was working with. Because I have worked with her for so many freaking years that eventually I'm done with trying to help people evolve. And I do that by giving you guys new information. I post in every freaking group. Alex Jones and the government whatever, tell you in every facet of society, this is what's going to happen. We're going to do this. We're going to do this. This is what's going to happen. People are in freaking denial. Denial. And I put it out there. I'm done with everyone's bullshit. I'm in my own little island. Take care of yourself. Take care of your family. My husband is his own independent man. He will figure out himself. He will not put us in the poorhouse because he doesn't want to be poor. He doesn't want to be starving. He already saw what happened with the drunk driver hitting him. He lost his car for a minute for 15 days. And now he's driving his other car that doesn't have all the bells and whistles. So he's feeling the pain of what's going on out there. So he's seeing it firsthand. Okay, so I'm telling you, the moment of truth. Oh, Lordy. And I've been prepared for this. And the universe prepared me, I guess, a long time ago. It was a struggle. And so maybe all the MK Ultra stuff was for a reason. All the experiments, America, the last great experiment, to figure out how to get people to be peaceful, independent, and productive. And yeah, there's a lot of different petri dishes and different control groups out there. And you're all one of them. J-Juice also is a control group. Okay? Because I operate out there in the open. There is nothing behind the cover of darkness. Everything I do is for everyone to see. I am not anyone's doctor, and you have to face the virus. And if you do too much J-Juice, you're going to be in a cured state of decline. You don't do any J-Juice, and you've never reset your body, you'll be subject to your predispositions and the piezoelectric environment. And it will cannibalize you if you don't feed the energy and deal with the pain. So at 5:24 in the morning, I was up at 4:06. Okay, and I'm this clear in my thought process. That I'll tell you something, energy is making the synapses and my neurological relays very quick, and I'm seeing the writing on the wall. And I'm seeing now the patterns of what goes on in Afghanistan, in America. And yes, they are bringing people over here from there, of which we're going to see a lot of chaos and a lot of different narratives. And so stay home, stay safe, stay away from large crowds, take care of your family and your kids at your home. The world isn't the same anymore. You got to realize this. Your kids have to realize this. The world is not the same anymore. Get them prepared to be on their own. If you don't, you're doing them a disservice. And so that's what the parents now are going to have to face, is that they're going to have to change the way they look at raising their kids and their life. And they're not prepared to do that. Not many people are. And so the kids will be subject to a lot of mutations, and some will survive and some will not. Some parents will survive and some parents will not. And that's going to go down the line. And we're going to see a lot of stuff go on in the next 10 years. So stay home, stay safe, and stay away from large crowds. And just keep your head bed down and take care of your shit. Because no one's going to do it for you. You have to do it. All right, bye.